appreciate the life that you're living. You have somebody up there who's looking down on you, guiding you and protecting you. A shining star. That is your shining star. Each and every night I look up to the moon and I just smile because that's my granny looking down on me. That's my brother Everett looking down on me. And I appreciate them and I miss them. But I know they're just waiting for us to go to that promised land. But we are all going to fight together. Black Lives Matter. No justice, no peace. We're doing this for all of those people who have suffered oppression. Slavery has been abolished how many years, but we still feel like we are slaves here today. But not no more. We are fighting. We are standing together peacefully. And we will show them Black Lives Matter. My name is Wilder Pierre. They call me the Extraordinary Steel Panis. I appreciate you. I love you. From the bottom of my heart, Pan Man on duty. I'm signing out. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Joining us today, Mr. Edwin Raymond.
All right. All right.
How
Thank
are
you for
doing today.
I'm good today. I just came from, my schedule is crazy because of everything that's going on being in law enforcement. But today, today I finally had a day off, enough errands to run. So now I'm home, enjoying the evening with you guys.
Gotcha.
Thank you for putting this together and thank you for having the speakers. I'm gonna jump right in. So as Kira already said, I'm an active NYPD lieutenant, and 4 years ago, when I was just a police officer, before my 2 promotions, I spoke out against police misconduct, brutality, arrest quotas only in the Black and brown communities. I spoke out against the oppression that the department was enacting on our people. And I paid dearly for it. It was me and 11 other officers. They call us the NYPD 12. You can Google it. Of the 12 officers, 9 of us are of Caribbean descent in some way. We have 2 Haitians, a Jamaican, 5 Dominicans, and the rest are Puerto Rican. Representing a wide array of the Caribbean. What I want to speak to today is, as a people, we have to make sure we educate ourselves to know the important work that's being done. You understand? Because when this movement that I started with these other officers, sometimes I find that people don't know about it. You understand? Everyone is saying, we're the good cops. We're the cops that speak out. We don't have good cops because none of them speak out. Meanwhile, we've been speaking for 4 years. Caribbean folks have been in the United States doing amazing work from the beginning. From W.B. Du Bois, whose father's Haitian, Marcus Garvey, born in Jamaica, Malcolm X, whose mother's from Grenada, Stokely Carmichael, who's born in Trinidad, C.L.R. James, born in Trinidad, Shirley Chisholm, first Black woman elected to Congress, first Black person to run for president, first woman to run for president. She's Bayesian, so we've always been here doing amazing work. We cannot afford as a people to not know what that work is. Specifically, what we're trying to do is change policing, because obviously we all saw the George Floyd video. All of us have seen the different videos, and we're grateful to be able to see it on video, because there's enough things that happen that we never get the videotape for. We have to take the officer's word, the officer's narrative, and the family never gets justice. So again, I implore everyone to look into the work, figure out what the work is, support the work. This is your own Caribbean people that's doing work. We're trying to make you proud. We're trying to do things to help save your life, because on the way to the fete or this event or this restaurant, all it takes is one police stop and you might not make it. Think about that. One police stop on the way to anything that you're doing, and you might not make it. The way Sandra Bland didn't make it, the way Philando Castile didn't make it. Because when police officers have quotas on how many tickets to write, how many people to arrest, how many people to stop and frisk, and it's all Black people. You can't do this in the white community. To have active officers willing to put that out there, this is something that people have to get behind. Please, that's what I want to speak to today, just imploring us to remember, listen, we work hard, we play hard. We have every right to play hard. But in the middle of that, as Black people, as people of color, as Caribbean people, we have to understand our position in this world. We're not comfortable. We're not in a position that we need to be yet. So we still have to remember to do the homework and know what's going on so we can support proper movements. Right now, it's easy. We have coronavirus, enough people out of work. It's easy to support movements now. There's friends every day on their social media. They're out protesting. And I would have never thought in a million years I've seen these people protesting. But this is when it's a little easier. We have to make sure when things go a little bit closer to normal that we stay on top of these things. So as Kara said, there's a documentary called Crime and Punishment. You know, I implore everyone to see it. It's only in Hulu here in the United States, but I'm gonna add a link that you never got from me, all right? You never got this link from me, but I'm gonna add a link that allows anyone to watch it anywhere in the world. You know, watch the movie, get a crash course in understanding the work, and support the work however it is you can, all right? Bless, that's my piece.
He's a very innovative chef because he's the only Black person I know that takes a consonant, puts it in his name, and declares it silent. I haven't seen that since Django, but we don't argue. Yes. So I want everybody to show some love to Chef Extraordinaire, our guest and our speaker. Y'all make some noise for Chef Sean. Everybody make some noise.
Thank you, Kara. Thank you for having me on this platform. Oh man, what a day! What a crazy time! And me as a chef in this world, I'm just using my platform and my love for food just to pretty much show people love. And my journey has been so crazy where, like, I was a stockbroker and I just pursued to have follow my dream and took a leap of faith into being a chef and following my dream. And my dream is like a road to success where you believe in something, and for me, it's like taking that love that you have for something and just go for it, no matter what it is. And for me, I use that way to in this COVID time, like I'm using this food as a way to just share love in everybody, where we're not, since we so social distancing, and this is how we communicate with everybody through food and social gatherings, especially for birthdays. I know so many people have birthdays and they don't know how to celebrate, and they know just having dinner, just having a birthday party with food is part of it. Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Hi?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Like, it's like you're on digital network as well, or what?
Well, for me, I'm just being grateful to be here. My journey as a chef in New York, and open up a lot of doors to travel. And I'm just pushing Caribbean cuisine as much as possible. I want people to look at Caribbean cuisine more than rice and peas and jerk chicken. And I just want to use my platform. And I know a lot of people lost a lot of people through COVID, and just a simple gift of food and ideas of eating healthy and just brings smiles. And I just want to offer that in COVID. My road to success is pretty much, how would I say? You believe in something and you know there's something behind it. There's a lot of hard work behind that journey, but you just have to be committed to it. Because when I first had the idea of being a chef, somebody said, "You really want to do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, you gotta peel onions." I'm saying, if that's the dues I have to pay to peel onions to get where I need to get to, I'm gonna start peeling onions. So it's just being strong-minded and just going with the flow of pursuing your dreams. It could be culinary, could be painting, a singer, artist. I'm just, me as a chef, I just want to just share love with food. And I got that love from my grandmother. As I said, food touches people, and I just want to offer that. Me as a chef, I've done so much amazing stuff. Food as a comedian, you know, as I said before, food has been a way that when you go to somebody's house, especially, they offer you food as a form of welcoming. And and you miss that. And in quarantine, I had to use social media platform to just share that love of food, where somebody might always eat salmon a certain way, and then here I am showing them a different way to eat salmon or pair it with something different that they never thought about. And I just want to use my gift to show people, you know what, food is more than just a plate. It's love, and it's love tangible, essentially. What's driving me to succeed? You know, just me coming immigrating to New York, and I always saw that Caribbean cuisine or Caribbean culture is always like on kind of on a mom and pop kind of standard, and I just want to change that. I've just been driven by that, and I just want to meet diners in New York. I always saw that other cultures had fancy restaurants, and they want to try and elevate their cuisine, and I was just, if I was a chef, I wanted that for my culture as a Caribbean person. And somebody said stop complaining, create it, and I always love cooking, and I wanted to just change. You know, coming to New York was adapting to food and seasoning, and I didn't like it, the food initially. And you miss back home your seasoning, your home food, and I just want to just have that on a Caribbean platform. And I've been successful. I've been recognized where I pushed the envelope with Caribbean cuisine, where I merged different cultures. And if you go back to days of in the Caribbean, they're all different colonial people coming in. They brought their food and was integrated into the Caribbean way of life. And I just use that to just show, you know what, we could reintroduce it and show that, again, we're just more than rice and peas and jerk chicken. And we just have to be committed. Whichever platform you have, whatever you have dreams you have, this is the time. You just don't fit back. New Age Caribbean. My grandma always tell me, don't play with your food, and play with your food. And this is what I do. I show love. It's crazy. Like for Father's Day, this is Father's Day is coming up, and just for some fathers out there, I just wanted to show. I started this thing called Curbside Pickup, and I'm introducing the way I eat, the way I see Caribbean cuisine, and people have been responding successfully to it. And this is just me showing, since connecting to the community based on how I perceive Caribbean cuisine, and I call it Caribbean. And it's been welcoming, and I offered a jerk duck confit. And I use that inspiration just being in Brooklyn, seeing jerk spots, and I said, why not take it to the next level? We eat duck, so why not do a take on it? So I just love thinking beyond the plate and imagination, and want to show people, you know, food is love, and I'm a chef, and I'm just driven to make us win. And I always say to myself, if one person wins from the Caribbean, we all win. And I'm here in my platform as a chef, just pushing every day, being creative, just to elevate our cuisine. It's not like we have a great, I feel like our cuisine could be on any standpoint, any world platform. And as I said, some of the pictures here, the bone marrow eggplant, that was in my dream. And this was me traveling to Trinidad, and I eating Balangen, and I'm like, you know what? Why not do this with bone marrow and just playing with it, just playing with the creativity. I just want us to be proud. I just want me as a Caribbean person, make our food proud, and I'm just happy to be in this. How would I say it? I'm just happy that I pursued this dream to be a chef, and I'm breaking barriers in terms of the culinary world. And our cuisine is wonderful. I just want to share that with the world. And as I said, one person win. I'm not the one person who's pushing it, but if one person win, we all win as a Caribbean community.
Thank you so much, Sean.
Yes.
I hope you know that I'm hungry right now. Putting it out there.
You have a restaurant in New York, Sean?
I work, not yet, but curbside pickup I'm doing is like the closest thing tangible to a restaurant, because I'm doing everything myself, and I'm just trying to make people happy in this quarantine, in this whole epidemic. You know, I'm using that food lane to make people happy and touch people's lives, because people respond and they're like, "Oh my God, like I was having a bad day. Just tasting your food changed that," and that's evoking emotions. You know, changing the script.
We appreciate that. Okay. I'm sorry that you saw my screen go off. Skipped the dishes, came to the door to drop food off. I'm getting tired of you guys treating it like it's a drug exchange. Just give me the food, man. Like these guys drop the food and sneak away like I have COVID. Listen here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry I was gone for a bit. But continue doing what you're doing, Sean. Honestly, food.
Appreciate it.
Definitely a good way. Hopefully you can take some of your recipes to England and you can teach them to season chicken, because there's no seasoning there.
I have a story about that, actually. I debuted one of my jerk duck confit, and they were like, "Oh my God!" Like the English people were like going crazy.
Yeah. They saw onion powder and lost their mind, right? Because they had no idea. Because there's none there. There's none there.
Yes, indeed.
There's a lot of shake and bake chicken there. Okay.
Yes.
Welcome, Benjamin.
Thank you for having me. Actually, you pronounced my last name correctly. Yeah, it's Calix, but if you're in here, we say Calixty, but Calix is the proper way to pronounce it.
I'm gonna brush my shoulder off.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to welcome everyone to this Zoom conference that we're having, and I hope this message finds each and everyone's family well at this time. Emotional stoicism and masculinity and man up. So, you know, what does that mean? For the longest, we've been conditioned to suppress our emotions as males, emotions such as anger, fear, frustration, shame, and sadness. Instead, we adopted phrases such as man up, boys don't cry, stop acting weak, because I think we convince, you know, ourselves that manning up or hiding our emotions is the very essence of manhood. And, you know, once we kind of start to kind of see when you suppress your emotions, where that goes, you know, the question is why? You know, to succeed, you know, in hiding your emotions or your feelings, it requires you to first deny or ignore the emotions that you're feeling. So let me stop and take a second. A little nervous, but I'll get to it. Okay, you know, first, you know, in hiding your feelings from others, it requires us to hide our feelings from ourselves by denying or ignoring its existence, which is what we would call self-abandonment. And when we, and if you know, in terms of when we abandoned, in terms of where we, as me growing up as a Haitian, in the Haitian culture, every time when I was dealing with my feelings, it was told for me to kind of be quiet, not share, not tell anyone what was going on. And pretty much it was basically the expression like to sweep it under the rug. But when you sweep it under the rug, it's still in the house. And when we have unexpressed emotions don't die. They show up as anxiety, depression, passive aggressiveness, passive behaviors, substance abuse, relationships, so forth and so on. So when we're not meeting in terms of and dealing with our emotions, they're gonna manifest into other things in our lives. So you can change it to the next slide for me, please. And you know, so in terms of when we try to make that connection to in our manhood, actually pass this one, because I'm gonna come back to that, please. Thank you. All right, so in terms of when we're getting to dealing with how we could, as men, deal with our emotions and express our emotions and feeling comfortable expressing our emotions. I think that's why when we start to kind of bridge the gap over to being a student of self, what does that mean when we tie that in? We need to first show ourselves self-compassion, or rather self-attunement, which is showing the compassion that you show for others, you show for yourself, that grace. Also, self-care, knowing that I need to be able to take care of myself in terms of if I, excuse me, take care of myself, do things that bring me joy. If I like to go bike riding, if I like to go running or exercise, I do these things because this is something that I do enjoy. It's my peace. It's my solitude. It's my time apart from all the things that we have going in our lives, being whether you're a husband, you're a friend, you have kids, it's a time for you. And lastly, self-awareness. Self-awareness is key because it allows us to kind of search within ourselves and understand how we are able to impact others. How do we make someone feel when they're around us? How do they receive us? What's our energy? Are we someone who's positive? Are we someone who tends to drag other people down? It's very, it's very important because although we're on one part as men trained and conditioned not to deal with our feelings and our emotions, the fact is that when these emotions are left unchecked, they will manifest in other areas in our life. And when you are a student of yourself, meaning that you have an understanding that I understand why certain things upset me, why I'm being triggered, now you can more or less navigate through your life a lot easier. And in this climate, I think it's very poignant to really stress in terms of that. I'm a father, I have a son, and to all the fathers out there, just in terms of Happy Father's Day, but we sitting down, if you have a son who looks like you, we're having these uncomfortable conversations in terms of dealing with the brutality or the police brutality and what's been going on for this period of time. And being a student himself, it's not that it cannot happen to you, right? Because we hear about all of these situations and we hear, well, was that person compliant? Did they listen to what the cops were saying? And we know that's not what the case is, because even when we're handcuffed, it doesn't matter. But the fact is that understanding and being able to search and reflect and take deep introspection in yourself as a person and be comfortable with who you are and be able to pass that down in terms of and when I tell my son on why it's important, because we know that our children are not given a second chance. My friend Andre has a real good saying that he says it's the Cubs and Lions syndrome. When our children are young, they're cute, they're so sweet, but when they get to preteens and adolescent, that's no longer the case. For some reason, their skin has been weaponized. It's for some reason they become now a target. And that's, the dialogue that we need to have with our kids. And that's really encompassed in terms of being a student of self, knowing who you are, knowing how to navigate, because it's not navigating just the situations that we're in, but as Black men, we have to know how we're going to navigate this world, because we can't move the same way that everyone else moves in this world. We understand that because of what is going on in the streets now. This is not something that just happened last week. This is not something that just happened 2 months ago. This has been happening for decades. And the fact is that as a people, obviously we have swarmed together But it's very important in terms of that we are sitting down, and I'm sure most of us are having this uncomfortable conversation with our kids. Our kids may be 6 years old, 7 years old. My son is 9, but it's something that we can't sugarcoat anything, because we know that when they're in the world on their own and traveling in this world, that they need to be equipped with all the tools that we can impart to them. And you could change the slide. I think there's one last slide. I might have went off tangent. Is that the last slide?
No, there's one more.
Okay, so yeah, so I'll kind of recap, how well do I know myself? I expressed something in terms of self-abandonment. And self-abandonment is basically when you deny or ignore your core feelings in real time. And what does that mean? That, what that actually means is that, and I can illustrate, is that, say for instance, you had a long week working and it's Friday, you're mentally exhausted, you're heading home, you're walking in and your friend calls you on the phone and he tells you, hey, listen, man, I need help with you to take a couple of things from storage. It's going to be about a couple of hours. At that moment, there's a decision to make. You can abandon yourself by saying, yes, come and get me, or you can make a decision by setting up boundaries and saying, listen, I'm not going to be at my best right now. I'm not going to be able to, I don't have what you need me to give at this moment. Because when you are a student of self, you're operating from a space of what's serving you well. It's not, I don't want to conflate it with it being selfish or not being a good friend, because obviously being a friend requires some type of sacrifice, some type of reciprocity between you and your friend. But in terms of being a student of self, you recognize that at this moment, I'm able to set up a boundary to know that, listen, I don't have what you're asking me to give. Because remember, we can't give from an empty cup. And, to bring it back full circle, as Black men, we're conditioned to produce. A gentle reminder, while you're busy anchoring everyone else, make sure you're not the one drowning. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you for having me.
This is actually the first time I'm doing a men's event under my platform. I've always done women's events. So I know sometimes it's tough to share, being a man and so forth, to come out and just speak your truth. So we really and truly value that. And we're very appreciative, Sean, you as well, Edwin as well. I am so grateful that you guys have allowed yourself to, speak your truth and share with us. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, Kara. Thank you.
To you, brother Benjamin. That was actually very informative. I think it's very important for men to do a better job at conveying their feelings. I think this was something that I actually took a lot from. So much love to you, brother Benjamin. I hope you continue to spread the message like that, man. We need more.
Thank you, kindly.
I convey my feelings only on online gaming when I'm losing. I get very mad. Very mean things. So, but he wasn't talking about that. Very important. I thought it was so informative, man, and very grateful for the words, Benjamin.
Thank you, Dwayne, for being here today. Thank you. When I was thinking about this event, everyone that I brought together for this event, came to mind immediately. I was like, I need to speak to this person. And you were definitely one of those people that I was like, this is what we're doing. We're celebrating Kings. I need to have Dwayne Morgan here. So thank you for being here. And I'll let you jump right into your session.
All right, no problem. So I'm going to read a brand new poem that I just wrote in the last week or so. And, as Earl was talking about, there's so much stuff going on in the world right now. And, the world has been trying to exterminate Black people forever. And I think the fact that we are still here, we still survive, we still persevere, we're still successful, should be a reminder that we aren't regular people. We aren't normal people. We are a magical people, because no matter what has been designed to get rid of us, we are still here. So as you walk through your day and as you walk through life, always walk reminding yourself that you are not normal. You are not regular. You are magical. So this poem I'm going to read is called Black Magic. Growing up, I always knew when my parents were talking to white people on the phone. It was in their tone, how they switched it up to sound less like themselves and more acceptable. I didn't understand black magic back then, but I get it now. It is in the way how we change the energy in rooms, the ways that we move, the ways that we create, then give things to you when they no longer have use. Black magic is carefree, like jumping on trampolines, ignoring your noose. It's the way how our skin hides the bruises, hides the evidence. It's the way the sun bows to our melanin with reverence. It's standing up and demanding to be seen when the world treats you as irrelevant. It is knowing how to go numb for self-preservation, how to hold your tongue when the man being killed reminds you of your brother, your husband, your son. Black magic is knowing funeral hymns by their name and number, hearing them so many times, you have every line memorized. It's going to work heartbroken, but still being expected to be full of life, to co-sign what's hip while hiding the chips on your shoulders. It's wanting to break, but knowing how many worlds your love holds together. It is being stretched thin like limbs on pavement. It's in the way we speak to spirits and invoke the spirit of the dead. It is spending mornings mourning with unwed widows, men never to be seen except posted on screens. Hashtag RIP Black Magic is the way we normalize pain and still find brushes to paint masterpieces with it. Our ability to hope, to love, to fight, to forgive. It is our will to live, not just exist. Despite those who'd like to see us extinct, it is thick skin, thick lips, thickness, milkshakes that bring boys to the yard, lactose intolerant or not. It is voodoo in ebonics, hood economics. It's the unicorns found in a black man's tears. It's a black woman fighting for freedom against fear. It's black kids loving the feeling of their hair and no, you can't touch it. This black magic is sacred. Harriet Tubman on steroids, Jamaican Maroons keeping watch over Wakanda. It is the spirit of Nkrumah, Lumumba, Huey P. Newton, Bobby Seale, and Malcolm X. It's Marcus Garvey checking passports on the journey back home. It's ancestors haunting oceans, strange fruit that pesticides can't kill. It's the secret sauce at the cookout with no recipe written down. It is the music in our steps, the choreography in our speech. It is the beauty we possess that hatred can never bleach. We are the definers of pop culture, and we feed it to you like addicts. We might give you a little taste, but you will never have black magic.
First of all, shout out to everybody that's here. Much love to the speakers, man. Much love to Dwayne. I'm still jealous of him because poets always steal the girls from the comedians. I was just only being cordial on here because there are people watching, but I really don't like you, Dwayne, because we've done many shows together. Yes, we've done many shows together, and I think I'm talented. I think I bring light to the world. I will perform, and I will do jokes, and then Dwayne will come along with some poetry. He'll rhyme 4 words, and then all of a sudden, nobody knows who Tricks is again. And I'm very, very, very petty right now. Very bitter. Yes, I'm gonna write a song. I'm gonna write a poetry called Bitterness, and it's gonna be all about Dwayne Morgan and the many things he's taken from me throughout the years. Also, people, I want to encourage all of you. I know this COVID thing has a lot of us messed up, and I think it's very funny how I've watched all of us progressively start to not care. You see, in March, when you see, it was very easy to tell us Canadians to stay in the house, yes, because winter, yes, winter was outside. So it wasn't very hard for us to say, you know what, stay in your house, don't go anywhere, wash your hands. Some of you guys were making your home remedies. Someone took garlic and orange peel and lemons, and you threw it into a pot and you boil it, inhale it, thinking that was gonna kill Corona. Yes, I get it. But as soon as that sun came out, you see how fast everybody forgets that there's still a pandemic going on. Yes, I want you guys to be careful. I understand we want to go out. I understand we want to get back to some normalcy, but 2020 is done. Okay, guys? let's look forward to 2021 now. 2020 is done. All right. From the minute they announced Caravana's done, that was the end of 2020 for me. The minute they took away Caravana, I was like, yep, no fat. Okay. No bungee garlic. No road march. 2020 is canceled. The minute you say Soca's done, 2020 is canceled. It's up to 2021 now. I want us all to be careful. You understand? I know you're not really, a lot of us don't know what to believe on the news. You have a president who shouldn't answer questions. Then you have a prime minister who really shouldn't answer questions. And I understand the confusion, but I want all my peoples to be careful. Black people especially. We live in a world right now where I never thought in my life I would be in the midst of a race war. I never thought in my lifetime we'd be sitting here and I'd be watching Black people get murdered on camera phones and nothing be done. It's almost like I become immune to watching it. I get it. But I want to encourage my Black people that we are Black and we overcome things. That's one of our strongest attributes. And I think that we as Black people need to understand that we've been overcoming things. And I want to encourage you guys to remember that things get better for us in the end. I know that it sounds cliche, and I know it's easy to say, but I believe that as Black people, like you heard in Dwayne's speech, there's a reason why we're still here. We're a different breed of people. I'm not saying we're better. I'm just saying we're a different breed of people. We overcome things. We're resilient, and we're super, super strong. So be careful, please. Still wash your hands. Don't stop washing your hands because you see people on the grass and on parks. Okay? Still be responsible. Live your lives, but do it responsibly. Some of you have very nice front yards. Just take a blanket and in the front yard or in the backyard. I mean, we don't need to go to the beach. It's not going anywhere. It'll be there 2021. You understand? Everybody just, I'm just saying, I know there's a need. Alcohol is being delivered to people's houses. Okay? We don't have to go to the bars. Okay? We can fet online. Look at what we're doing. Look at this. Look at this. You ever thought that you see a comedian performing for 19 boxes and watching you guys systematically go to the bathroom and hurt my feelings by turning the square black? Listen, I could go on. But things get better, people. I want all of us to be careful. I want us to continue tapping in. Tap in with each other. Call your friends. Hit them up. Check on them. You know, this is a time where if you were procrastinating on projects, do your projects. Level up. Learn a language. Write a book. Do something creative in your time. Don't waste this opportunity. Don't waste this reset, because I believe that this reset's in place for a reason, and I believe it's in place for all of us to become better. So don't waste any of it. Be responsible, be creative, but most importantly, be happy.
Please give a round welcome to Dwayne Matthews. And I am positive that every single person in this room right now is saying, what is a chief innovation evangelist?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, good, because I joined twice, and there's a couple of things that made me laugh. So I'm actually at another meeting, and Trix talked about having the screen black to go to the washroom, and I'm talking from the washroom. So I thought that was.
Well, thank you for joining us.
I thought that was pretty funny. I'm actually sitting on a chair. I'm not sitting on a bowl or anything, but I am sitting on a chair. I appreciated a bunch of the conversations that happened before. Thank you very much to the people that shared. Thanks a lot for Dwayne Morgan for sharing, and thanks for Trix for the comments, and thank you, Kara, for having me. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is context. So there's a famous professor. His name is Charles Jobin, and he has a quote, and his quote says, "We live our lives responding to a world that we know and understand that no longer exists." And I want us to think about that as we go through a short journey with me about that particular world and how it's changing. So at the moment, we are looking at what is our present situation and how does that connect to the past. And then there's a direct line to the past to our present moment. And I think that's a very important conversation. But the conversation that that I'm particularly interested in sharing today is how do we think forward? What comes after? And so yeah, I had a few stories to put that into context and to help me to share the thoughts that I want to share. So the first story that I wanted to share is about school. Kara talked about herself and Trix being in school. Kara, I think I'm a little bit older than you. But when I went to school, if I had to find out about something, I had to go to the library. And it was interesting. Somebody came online and said, how many people go to the library? And I said, you know what? There are a lot of people that still go to the library. But here's my story. I was in school. I was in high school. And at the time, I had to find out about a specific leader. His name was Robert Mugabe. And so Robert Mugabe, the late Robert Mugabe, was kind of a butcher. He was the former president of Zimbabwe. And so here's what I had to do if I had to find out about that. And most of you, if you're close to my age, give or take at about 10-year frame, you know what I'm talking about. But I had to go to my neighbor's house. So I went to my neighbor's house and I had to go look for an encyclopedia. And the reason I went was because encyclopedias were so expensive at the time that I only had A to D, and I said Mugabe. So Mugabe is at the end. So I had to go to my neighbor that had the M section. And when I went there, I realized that the information that I wanted to find out was really kind of short and really kind of small. So I had to go to the library. I had to get on the bus. I went down to the bus. Once I got onto the bus, I went to the library. Once I got to the library, I met the librarian. I told the librarian what I was looking for. When I told the librarian what I was looking for, she said, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to send you over to this section right over. If you're within that 10-year frame, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say Dewey Decimal System. And so I go to the library and I find the books and I realize the book that I want is not there. So I come back to the librarian and she says to me, you know what, the book's probably going to be back next week. I go all the way home. I wait 7 days. I come back. It takes me 10 days to get to the information that I wanted to. So fast forward, I'm now a father. And I'm pretty excited about being a father. You see, I grew up with no father. And so the idea of being a father, I probably overcompensated. I really appreciated what Benjamin said about being a stoic and covering emotions. But my emotion was I really wanted to be a father. So I was super, super excited. And my son came in to me in about grade 3 and he said, Dad, he goes, we have to do a presentation and our presentation has to be on Robert Mugabe. So this moment came and all of a sudden I stood up really straight and I was really excited. And I was saying, son, let me talk to you about Robert Mugabe. And as I was about to espouse my wisdom that I actually forgot for most of the time because it was a long time between my high school presentation and my child, I hear from him, hey, Google, who's Robert Mugabe? And immediately, right away, he has millions of websites, hundreds of videos, thousands of pictures of Robert Mugabe. He's able to grab this information and grab it in an instant. What took me 10 days took him maybe 30 or 40 seconds. And so it made me realize that we live our lives responding to a world that no longer exists. There's certain elements of the world that are the same. There's certain struggles that we still have, but there are lots of components and pieces that have changed. And being able to change from thinking about the world in one way and almost feeling like a fish inside of water to thinking about the world in another way, realizing just like Finding Nemo when your head pops out of the water and you realize that there's oxygen somewhere else, the world.
Your audio just cut, Dwayne.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can. We just lost the last.
Yeah, no, I just wanted the slide to switch. That was my dramatic slide switch scene. Kara, you and I talked about this. I told you it comes like
I'm so sorry.
like bam, like that.
Jay, he's a drama queen, okay? So pay attention.
Drama king, apparently. Or drama undefined, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, so
my apologies.
As we go on, so I start thinking about how the world has changed. And so how has it changed? Right? So in front of you, you should be seeing a boombox with a mixtape. And I'm now married for about 19 years. I've known my wife for about 30. And while I was courting her, there was a special way that I did this. My son was saying, Dad, how did you get Mom? I said, well, there's a magical thing, son, called a mixtape. And let me tell you how this mixtape worked. You see, your dad would stay sitting in front of a radio, a boombox, just like this one, and he'd be listening to a specific station of maybe that there were two. And he would wait for the special type of music, some Luther Vandross, some Jodeci. Anybody listening to D Nice, I'm talking to you. Anybody listening to D Nice, you know what I'm talking about. And so I would sit there on the radio, waiting for my special song to come on. And I would wait for that song, hope that the radio announcer would not speak. And while I did that, and I put all this together, right? And you probably know what I'm talking about. I put all of this together and I turned that into a mixtape. At the time, the radio that I used had 135,000 transistors in it. And it was fantastic. Some of them had one tape, some of them had two. You could tape from one tape to the next. It was the epitome of scientific innovation for me at that time. Slide, please. Today, however, in my pocket, I have a device with an A12 bionic chip. And that A12 bionic chip has just evolved into an A13 bionic chip. And we have 8.2 billion transistors on a single chip. That's more transistors on one single chip than we have human beings on the planet. And they literally pump out maybe 13 to 14 million of these phones. We never even give it a second thought as to how much power that is. Most of you, I hope you've seen the movie Hidden Figures. In that movie, Hidden Figures, there's a huge computer in the room, and it's a movie about these extraordinary women that are Black African-American women in the States, and they are trying to help NASA get a man into space. At that time, there's less computing power in all of NASA than you and I have in our cell phones today. It's extraordinary. Slide, please. Somebody said great movie. I agree. It's a fantastic movie. I make my son look at it at least once a year. So what are we talking about in terms of what's changed? Well, what's changed is the slide in front of you, the square to the very left, was all the information in the world when my son was born. The slide to the right is all the information at last count in 2019. And if you can look, you can see that there's an exponential progression, and that allows us to do extraordinary things. But we have to understand around us has changed. Are there things that hold us back? Are there structural things that hold us in place? I agree, they are. But there are also opportunities that allow us to do things. We're living in what I would like to think of as the Wizard of Oz, the time of the Wizard of Oz. And if you remember this story with the Wizard of Oz, along they go looking for Oz, thinking that Oz has all the magic. You hear it all the time in social media when people use words like they, or they may, talk to an alluded group of people that sit somewhere in a quiet room. Some of the people on this line have been in those quiet rooms. I've been in a few of those rooms. And one of the things that I've noticed about this moment is that there is no wizard. The wizard is just as confused about this new moment. And that creates a massive opportunity. And that massive opportunity is one that I think that we need to take advantage of. And it's a massive opportunity to do what? Well, it's a massive opportunity to transform how we educate our children, how we educate ourselves, and how we prepare for the future of work and our ability to add contributions into the society that we're in. Slide, please. So things like what? One of the things that I do with my son is every Friday we have Marvel Night. At Marvel Night, we sit down and we look at all these different Marvel movies and we try to go one at a time and argue, should we go at it in sequential order? Should we go at it in terms of how it came out? We unite on one thing and one thing in specific. We both love Iron Man. of a mixed reality. And that mixed reality in the movie is for Iron Man. And Iron Man, somewhat, his character was based on Howard Hughes and Elon Musk. So all the resources that he has in Iron Man are based on billionaires. What you're seeing in front of you now is a mixed reality headset from Microsoft HoloLens. And at the time that I put this picture in, those headsets are about $3,500, but the price is dropping significantly as more competitors come in. Now, what was for a billionaire is now here for many of us, and soon will be for more of us. And so that creates an extraordinary opportunity in terms of how we learn what we know and what we're able to know. And so understanding that is extraordinary because it creates a massive opportunity for us to do very fantastic things. Slide, please. Now, this is a technology that I thought was really interesting. One of the things that I do here at the very beginning, you said, what does an innovation evangelist do? And it's, I look for a particular innovation that's going to change or switch paradigms, that will shift any kind of paradigm. I did this before for many companies. I did it for oil and gas companies in the past. Many people don't know that the biggest investor of clean technology and green technology in the world is actually oil and gas companies. And so I did a lot of work for them. And so now when we're thinking about school and we're thinking about COVID and we're thinking about all these connection points, and people start thinking, well, what's going to happen to school? What's going to happen to our children in school? What's going to happen to our Black children in school, or Black boys or Black girls? How are they going to respond? How are they going to respond, post racial inequity? How are they going to respond when there's this big, what's the word I'm looking for? Not insurgence, not resurgence, but a big awareness of the difficulties of systemic racism and how we address those things. And one of the things that I thought was really fascinating was this particular company came out with a technology called Spatial. And what Spatial allows people to do is it allows people to jump into rooms similar to this one, but in three-dimensional spaces, and now connect. So if you can imagine that your children now have the opportunity to connect with teachers all around the world. They can connect with teachers in Rwanda. They can connect with teachers in Trinidad and Tobago. They can connect with teachers in different countries in Africa. They can connect with extraordinary teachers, and they can do so in a social setting. How does that change education? How does that change their opportunity if they don't particularly like their teacher, now that we're going to have this option of staying home, going to school, or something in between? How does it change the world around us, and how does it change the future of education? And so these are some of the things that I want us to contemplate. Before I end, if we can just go to the last slide. So in this last slide, we see mixed reality glasses, and these are glasses that have been rumored to be coming out quite soon by Apple in 2021. And what they allow us to do, if you can put together the fifth slide with the students sitting around the cell, the sixth slide with all of the people in three-dimensional space, and this last slide, you start to realize that a lot of your visualization, a lot of your imagination, you can now put outside of yourself and hold it in a particular space for long periods of time as you make connections. And so it allows us to do something that's quite extraordinary. We no longer have to rely specifically on a teacher. We no longer have to specifically rely on being in a classroom. What's being taught to us, we can start to construct our own meaning, and not looking for objective truths, but thinking about what are the outcomes that we would like to achieve, and how do we go about and find the digital tools to help us achieve those outcomes. And so that essentially is my thought. Thank you very much for having me, Kira. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
He is always ready to deliver. And right now you guys can see that he is ready to deliver because he's on a shoot, guys. So can we give him a round of applause? Big up everyone from St. Vincent. Yeah. Everyone is on mute, so you'll just kind of see them clapping.
Oh, all right. But everybody can hear me?
Yes.
All right. So I was joining periodically. I joined around 7:05. I got to listen a little piece of the poet. and then I joined I think at the end of Dwayne, um, and he was talking about the boombox, I think. So I'm trying to juggle in between this program and finishing up what I got to do. But anyways, Kara, thanks for having me. It is not often that I get to speak on this type of platform and this type of forum. So it's always refreshing for an artist like myself to be able to express opinions that has nothing to do with music. I think there's a big stereotype for artists in my field that we are only able to have opinions where notes and chords and music and lyrics are concerned. And so I think often people forget that we are actual members of society that function, and we care about things that are happening around us other than hit songs and charts. So thanks for having me. I know that this program, it's about celebrating kings, and I was happy to hear that it was happening on the eve of Father's Day. I was able to hear Trix talking about the appreciation that is needed for fathers, and so it ties quite nicely into what I wanted to speak about, because I think that men, we are often celebrated as achievers. We are celebrated as builders. We are celebrated as inventors, as strong businessmen, as fortresses. You know, we are celebrated as pillars in the society in this very masculine way. But I think that we are not often enough celebrated as fathers. In the long list of things that we can name to outline what makes us successful, I think being a father is not often one of the things that we outline as, yeah, he's a successful man because look how many kids he raised. That is not often a part of the listing that makes you a successful person. I really wanted to touch on the idea that to be successful is not only just about the tangible things and how much companies you're building and the recognition that you're getting in the business community. And I think that the images that are most pervasive of successful men, they are often shown in a business setting, and we are often, those images often display financial triumph. They don't often display a family triumph. You know, it's I think we assign the responsibility to hold the family together more often to the mothers, and that is rightfully so. But it can be a form of encouragement when we acknowledge that fathers, we do play a very important role when we stitch and glue together the family if we play the part that we are meant to play. And I think that not often we see our business heroes as kind and compassionate dads. We just see our business heroes as as just strong members of society who had the fortitude to build his own company. And we don't see Mark Zuck, what is the name of the guy from Facebook? That Zuckerberg guy. I don't even know if he has kids. I like, we don't hear about that guy for Tesla. What is his name? The Tesla guy. Elon Musk. Like we don't hear about Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos and how they're doing as an outstanding father. And so I think there's a challenge in how we balance the image of males as being strong and successful men, and how we balance that, how we counterbalance that as also being soft, compassionate, and responsible dads. And I think this can psychologically affect how we prioritize as men. There's a pressure to show how there's a pressure to show our successes in a certain way, because we are pressured in society to deliver certain things to prove that we are doing well. And that same pressure does not translate to our obligation to leave a mark as a great father. And I am very happy that this is happening on Father's Day. Sorry if it sounds like I'm preaching. And this is no knock to mothers, because there are an abundance of songs that represent the strength of a woman and more so the importance of a mother. And these are quite appropriate songs, and mothers deserve all the love and praises that they get, honestly speaking. But I do fear that we as fathers, we aren't encouraged nearly as enough with positive reinforcement as good fathers. And when we are actually good fathers, we aren't praised in the same way, and we aren't recognized as often. I mean, look at what Trick said. You know, normally we get a little tie, we get a little socks, and these things are trivial, but there's a deeper psychological indication for why it is that mothers get big fancy gifts and we only get socks. And there's an annual reminder of this disparity between the celebration of Father's and Mother's Day in what we see now, in the difference between what is now a commercialized day, which is Mother's Day, and what is a downplayed day, which is Father's Day. I think we have to work twice as hard to get our praises, and the lack of recognition for fathers is a multi-dimensional downplay, because I think even in the household, you have mothers that sometimes fail to magnify the importance of Father's Day. I think there are mothers who sometimes fail to magnify the importance of a father, even coming home to tuck you into bed. I mean, this is, in this time, we often get highlighted for the bad apples. There's a bunch of fathers in a basket, and we often get the recognition for the bad apples. And I think it's time that we start appreciating our fathers more. And tomorrow is a good day to stop giving just socks, but to show a little bit more appreciation for our fathers out there. I listened to Dwayne, and I was actually more excited to hear about his interactions with his son, and how he was talking about how he got to win over his mom by a boombox. And those types of interactions are the ones that were most impressive for me, and not necessarily about virtual reality and all these technological things. I think those stories are the ones that fathers, males, need to hear more, how we can inspire other males to be better fathers. I mean, my story in particular, there's a difference between positive. How much time I have? You see, I just ramble a lot.
You can keep going. You have all the time you want in the world. You can have.
All right, cool. No, there's a difference between positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement, and I think what is the most pervasive message right now is the negative reinforcement. We often hear about the bad daddies and the child support that we don't pay, and all these things. Me in particular, my story and what motivated me to be a good father was one of negative reinforcement, because I had a bad dad as an example, and I wanted to grow up to be not like him, right? And this can be helpful for young persons coming up trying to be a good dad, but there's a price to pay when your motivation to be a good dad is to not be your dad. You know, there's a need for young men to see other men as positive role models, and there's also a deficit in expressed love for our men. And I think men often shy away from even telling their boy children that I love you. And these are things that I have learned as a father, that even your male sons, you have to express the same amount of love to your boy children as your girl children, because that deficit and that tough love that we have been so indoctrinated to be as a male, it often turns around in the long run to be more harmful than helpful. So I just wanted to say that I have learned a lot, and I have grown a lot, not just because I became a businessman and I became successful in music, but having children actually taught me a different level of maturity and what it truly means to be responsible. And so much so, I know this is a business platform in certain senses, but I actually took or utilized the event that is paternity. the event that is fatherhood. When I got my first kid, my first daughter, it inspired me to actually create a business. And so my main business was born out of the love of my first child, which I now do party supplies and kids events and helium, and I do ice cream and these sort of things. So I just wanted to, first of all, thank Kara for taking her, what is normally a female platform that gives females all the glory that you guys rightfully deserve, and sharing it with us men, because we need it. You know, we need sometimes that voice to be soft and to be compassionate and to speak of the joy that it means to be a father. And I'm very happy that you invited me, and I'm very happy that you took your female program and turned it into a male-driven program and have us speak about our experiences in the different fields. So thank you. I'm not sure if I've gone over my time, but I just wanted to stress that tomorrow is also an important day. Females, let us not downplay what our roles are as fathers. We could get a little bit more than socks, and even if it's not about the tangible and the material things, I think that the positive reinforcement is needed for young males, for older males, and for males in general, because fatherhood is a serious thing. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you so much, Skinny. We appreciate you having here. Someone actually commented in my WhatsApp saying that's the quietest video shoot they've ever seen before.
No, because it's one of those scenes where I'm supposed to be having an argument with a girl that I fell out with. It's for a song called The Apology. I did some bad things to my girlfriend and I'm trying to make it up, blah, 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 blah. You'll see it by next week.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'm seeing a lot of great comments in the chat group. You know, one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on here was because a lot of people see you, you know, in the artist realm, and they hear interviews specifically focused on music, as you said. And, you know, you and I have been friends for over 10 years. And I think it's important that people see another side of you, especially because you are a father, you are a businessman, and there's a lot that you bring to the table. So I know that there were a lot of gems that you dropped that people are very grateful for. So we appreciate your time. You have to go right now.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you again for being here. We can't wait to see the video. I will put your information in the chat for those who don't know you so they can follow you and support you. Continue to keep doing amazing things. And thank you for ending this on a very, very high note.
Thanks, everyone. I'm seeing all the comments. Thank you.
Bye.
Fabulous. Big up Skinny. Fabulous, man. Some gems. That was really nice.
As a woman, how can we help our men open up to us more?
Well, I think really in terms of being able to sit down, to be able to have discussions and to affirm your man, meaning that we know in terms of that it can be tough out here as we move throughout in life, having a relationship, being the head of the household, creating a space for him to be able to be himself, meaning that if he likes to go out, which when I talked about self-care, allowing him that opportunity to be able to connect, not only necessarily with you, but outside, where he has that space in terms of being able to maybe work out and do things that he enjoys doing as well. So giving him that support, supporting him in whatever it is. If he's something in terms of he wants to go back to school and he's discussing that with you, just giving him that reinforcement that, well, you know, it might not look like it's going to be tough now because you have a full-time job. How can we make this work? So it's just a level of understanding and giving them space to really connect with your partner, allowing them to know that you have his back, you're there to support him no matter what, and you know, ultimately understanding that self-care is a major component in terms of that. Hey, you know, in terms of just ultimately being an ear, you know, listening to him. And if there's something on his mind and he wants to download that and discuss that with you, have an open ear. Maybe sometimes it might not be something you want to hear, but if you have an open mind and you at least listen to what he's initially saying, at least this way now you can give the feedback or what have you to, because, you know, at the end of the day, it's you and him. You know, it's you and him, whether you're married or this is your boyfriend. That's the mentality. That's you and him against the world. So that's that in a nutshell.
With your knowledge, what's the difference between an alpha male and a beta male?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, alpha males are pretty much, they're the leaders. They're the ones that, in terms of the best way I could parallel is if I discuss, you know, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is an alpha male. He doesn't wait for anyone else to, if you know, Jordan is an alpha male, and if you guys, I'm doing a basketball analogy here, and Pippen would be a beta male, meaning that Jordan doesn't need anyone else in terms of for him to take care of what he needs to, in terms of, because he's a leader. He's a shark. He's a dog. And even if he's by himself, but as opposed to a beta male such as Pippen, he actually would need that, if the wolf pack. He will need the wolf pack for him to be able to take care of things and handle his business. You know, alpha male is someone who commands the room, and is someone who's just a leader and basically doesn't need anyone to lead. He's not waiting for people to be with him. Either you're with him or not. So I think that's the best comparison that I can make. You know, Scottie Pippen obviously was a good teammate of Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan was that alpha male that no matter what, he'll be able to do what he has to do regardless of if someone's hurt or not. So.
And the follow-up question would be, what if you're an alpha female?
Oh, well, I mean, I think, you know, that's a different dynamic. And alpha female in what? In a relationship?
I want to say in general.
Okay, well, all right. So what I'll do is in terms of an alpha female in a relationship. Well, you know, if you know, I think ultimately, I feel that in each relationship, the roles have to be defined. It's not in terms of that, since I'm a male and, you know, my wife, in a sense, she has to know her role. You know, I don't believe in that. I feel it's more or less that we have our roles to fulfill. And as a team, as long as our roles are defined, we can be successful. You know, the best teams, for instance, like in terms of Warriors who've been winning the NBA championship, they had role players. And when you clearly have your roles defined, it doesn't matter whether she's an alpha male or not, as long as the roles are defined, I think you could be okay. I mean, obviously, you know, if a man is an alpha male, you can bump heads, but if you're, you know, still in a sense where you can let your man lead at times, I think, you know, it can work. You can be okay, you know, but it doesn't mean that a woman can't be aggressive dynamic either. You know, it shouldn't be a slight on a female just because she's an alpha male, because you're just as equipped as a queen to be a leader, to be ambitious and still be out there in the world, and to be just as industrious as men are. So I don't want to slight a female for that. It shouldn't be a slight against her because she's just as ambitious as a male is. So, you know, I'll leave it at that.
Being able to see men vulnerable and see another side of you guys is really, really touching. It's very heartwarming because you guys walk around like, you know, no sweat off my back. There's no stress. You know, I got this. I can take the world on. But meanwhile, a lot of you guys are suffering. A lot of you guys have not healed. A lot of you guys are going through things. So I want you guys to know that this is a safe space, and Caribbean Women's Power Lunch all of the women, the 2,000 women that are a part of Caribbean Women's Power Lunch. We are here to support all of the men. We are here for you guys, you know, and I will continue to do this. I'm not sure when the next one will be, but it will be something that I do again because, you know, it's needed. And I see that there's men that are still in here. So again, I thank you guys for being here. I thank you guys for taking the time to invest in yourself to be here, because you really didn't need to be here. You didn't need to spend a Saturday evening here when a lot of the world has opened up. So just being here means so much to all of us. Because we are doing this for you guys, you know. And ladies, thank you for being here to support the men. Thank you guys. Thanks for just being here to show them that love, you know. This is what we're about. This is what Caribbean Women's Power Lunch is about. And this is what I am about. My passion and my purpose in life is to love people, to uplift people, and to empower people. And that is the truth that I continue to walk in. I'm just going to end with reading this quote by Malcolm X. We need more light about each other. Light creates understanding. Understanding creates love. Love creates patience. And patience creates unity.